every part of the country joining us from, and welcome to Africa Practice Academy's conversation. My name is Maureen, and I will be your moderator for today's conversation. But before I properly welcome everyone, let's do something very simple. I don't want us to start with a long introduction. I actually want to hear from you first. So, as you are settling in, I want you to think about the icebreaker question on the screen and drop your response. So, the question says, what is one thing about professional life that nobody explained to you, but you eventually had to start figuring out for yourself? So it can be something serious, it can be something funny, it can be something you learned from making mistake. There is no perfect answer here. You don't have to give a response that makes you sound impressive. Just drop your answers in the chat and I will help by reading them out. So let's have your answer. Okay, we have a response here. Rita says, rest is extremely important for a life work balance, else you will burn out and might lose yourself in the job. Oh, that is fantastic. Let's keep it coming. Thank you, Rita. Okay, we have another one here by me. So the one thing that about professional life that nobody explained to me, but I actually had to start figuring out for myself is that nobody actually told me that communication can be more important than the actual work sometimes. So I had to learn it on the job. All right, we have another one here by Osita. Osita says the fact that enjoying clients and colleagues' goodwill is a given and common, but it takes commitment to translate it into trust. Wow, this is deep. Let me read it again. Thank you so much, Osita. The fact that enjoying clients and colleagues' goodwill is a given and common, but it takes commitment to translate it into trust. Thank you so much, Osita, for this wonderful insight. We have another one here by Rita. Rita says, there is a competition in every professional field, but your skills and expertise will make you stand out at all times. Rita, I think I have a contrary opinion, but this is actually the reason why we are here today. So probably by the end of this section, we will come to alignment. But thank you so much for this insight. It's actually going to open up a lot for this conversation. Thank you so much. Rita, okay, let me read again. Macy says professional etiquette. Oh, this is beautiful. Thank you so much, Macy. Rita says again, it is not enough to create a good product. You must learn to market your value in order to learn a living. Rita, thank you so much for this insightful response. Okay, let's see what Kosi has. Kosi says everyone is going through it. Don't think you are isolated in your issues. Draw strength from knowing what you are not. Okay, draw strength from knowing that you are not alone. Let me take it again. Everyone is going through it. Don't think you are isolated in your issues. Draw strength from knowing that you are not alone. Wow, this is good. Thank you so much, Kosi, for this response. Okay. You can keep sending in your response in the chat. Okay. Fisher says to be in the room. This is actually a deep conversation that is actually giving a few sentence response. To be in the room, not just walking into the room, to be in the room. Thank you so much, Fisher, for this insight. Okay. Some of these answers are actually giving us the entire section already. You know, the interesting thing is that nobody really gives you a manual when you enter professional life. You get the job description. In some cases, you may get a laptop, you get your email address, you have your onboarding section, and suddenly you hear, okay, go and start the work. And this is where the real learning begins, because there are so many things that aren't necessarily written down in your job description. Nobody tells you exactly where you should take initiative and when you should ask for help. Nobody explains how to disagree professionally. Nobody tells you how to receive feedback when your first instinct is to defend yourself. Nobody also tells you how to know when something is serious enough to escalate it. And this brings us directly into today's conversation, which is the things nobody explained. How do capable people learn professional judgment? Now, before we hear from our guest speakers, I want us to hear from the person who first asked the bigger question beyond this program. Why are many capable people still struggling to navigate professional life? So, to help us understand that, it is my pleasure to welcome Osita Enwe, the faculty director of Africa Practice Academy and the vision bearer behind this academy and the mentorship readiness professional development program. So Osita, I think the interesting thing about the mentorship readiness and professional development program is that it seems to be addressing something that is often difficult to put into words. So over to you, Osita. Let's learn from your well of knowledge.
Okay, thank you very much, Maureen. Right, thank you. I'm grateful to be here, and then thank you for everyone who has taken out time to join us this evening, at least an evening in Lagos, right? So, irrespective of what your time zone is, at least the day is far gone in most places. So, thank you, and welcome to Africa Practice Academy. Now, it's interesting because it is experience sharing, right? We're all going to share ideas and then gain insights and then balance perspectives and then use it to improve on our practice and structures, right? But one thing we are finding interesting, and this question is very relevant because again, human capital development is taken to be one of Africa's at least leading challenges, right? And we again consider it to be the most important assets, or at least form of capital. So, but professional judgment, how do we develop professional judgment? I'll just share one interesting insight, what I find to be interesting. So if you're familiar with a rural Nigerian setting, right, a typical village, an average household in the 90s and 80s, right, and early 2000 were subsistent farmers, right, average household, subsistent farmers. And that includes perhaps farming, rearing a goat, or at least a mammal, any form of mammal. But let's use a goat, for instance. Now, from the age of probably absence of malnutrition, from preteens, children begin to be entrusted with certain responsibilities. So they're accompanying their teenage brothers, right, especially the male children. But again, without any gender bias. So the children accompanying their preteen siblings to cut fodders, right, for those goats. And it's difficult because you need to know the type of fodders leaves, right, to cut. Otherwise, you cut those ones that are, that are acidic and could kill the animal. And that's a period of understanding their siblings, their elder siblings. And after a while, when they become teenagers, they run these errands on their own. And from there, from understanding, they understand that it requires judgment, right? Parents could provide damage control. That's in the night, the father may go with a torchlight to find out, at least go through the leaves and find out remove what is harmful and what is not harmful. And then perhaps the next day, give feedback to the children that next time you shouldn't do this because this one can kill the goat, right, or the animal. So that feedback is there and damage control is there. But over time, the child begins to learn responsibility. It's aware of the consequence given repeated feedback and the knowledge gained during the understudy period. And then he begins to exercise judgment. And with that judgment, he already knows the consequence. Now, a typical scenario for consequence will be that if you don't feed this animal, you will not eat your dinner. So a typical boy, for instance, may go out in the evening, engage with his friends in football, and forget to to cut the fodders. And then at the time the soccer ends, the football ends, it's already too late to go and so he sneaks back in home, and probably the father saw him playing the football and is waiting for him. For parents who are typically alert, right, and confronts him and uses that occasion to teach him consequence, right, that you need to own up to what you have done wrong. Perhaps denies him dinner that night, and the mother supports it. So the guy goes to bed hungry. Tomorrow, he's likely to behave better. So the point I'm making is, now, in the city life, how do we recreate this type of environment so that a typical graduate is not showing up at work without previous quote and unquote work experience based on family situation? Because we don't learn how to work at the workplace. We bring in those values into the workplace and then begin to adapt. So city life has its own advantages, and then those advantages, I wouldn't know if it's shrinking or increasing, just as it may apply to those in rural Nigeria at this time. So, but the point I'm trying to make is, from the story I've shared, there's a structure, there's a practice, there's a feedback, there's reflection. When the guy faced the consequence, didn't eat, went to bed hungry, we know what it could be like, right? And then there's an ownership. And eventually, there's professional trust. So there is trust. And now, if you apply this to workplace, a fresh graduate shows up, there's a structure. There are things nobody explained to him. But because given where he's coming from, depending on the level of responsibility that he had enjoyed before professional life, he begins to fit himself into a structure naturally. Others may have difficulties, right? But then begin to fit, and even in those difficulties, it's still adaptation. So, but he struggles, which is natural, right? And then he engages in the practice. There is feedback, irrespective of how the feedback is given. The capacity to absorb the feedback too, irrespective of how it's given, is equally a demonstration of personal leadership, right? But again, one has to ensure that it is not so toxic as to affect the mental health. And then there's reflection. And over time, there's ownership. And before the guy knows it, so I'm using guy now, before the young professional knows it, he's already showing professional trust, which eventually is judgment. So take, for instance, a young person working on a project. Someone had already mentioned that communication is more important than the work itself, or is as important as the work. Communication is part of the work. You can't remove it. So you're running late on a deadline, right? The typical thing will be to communicate. Now, if we begin to move across Nigeria, we realize that this communication varies. So if you have had the experience of working with people in the East, an average Easterner is, again, in terms of communicating feedback, is not at the same speed or pace with an average Lagosian working on a project, right? So, and when, for instance, where I stand from day to day as a commercial lawyer, you're collaborating on a project with a law firm in Europe or America. Against the speed is the pace of communication for them is far higher than that of average person in Lagos and typically in Nigeria, right? So, but one has to be able to live up to it and eventually grow into it. And that's, again, sensitivity to culture, cultural differences. So, but in that too, one begin to appreciate structure, feedback, practice, reflection, ownership, professional trust, and one is growing. So this evening, really, again, I'm not taking this to be, this is something we are, and that's why we're having this conversation. Taking this structure. So we would like our guests to interrogate what I am saying, right? And then show where there are gaps, there are flaws, and where they could stand better. Okay, so this is why we're having this conversation. Now, we would like to walk away knowing that we have achieved something, gained insights, and balanced our perspective so that we can, again, do what we are doing better. Thank you very
so
much.
Osita, for that insight. So at this point, um, we are going to have our first guest speaker speak to us by name Kosisochukwu Offojebe. Yeah, so one thing I want us to explore with Kosi is the reality that mentorship is not always a straight line. Sometimes you meet someone and the relationship works beautifully, yes. Sometimes you realize the person is not the right mentor for that particular season. Sometimes you receive advice that changes your direction beautifully. And other times you receive advice and then you think, I'm not sure about this one. Yes. So Kosi will be taking us through her career journey, the role mentorship has played in shaping decisions and opportunity, learning from both successful and challenging experiences, and practical advice from young professionals who want to build meaningful mentoring relationship. Over to you, Kosi Sachukwu.
Thank you, Maureen. Can everyone see my screen? I just want to confirm that everyone...
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Africa Practice Academy, for inviting me to share my professional journey and the role mentorship has played in my career and my life in general up to this point. And my name is Kosisochukwu Offojebe, as I was introduced by Maureen, but you can call me Kosi because apparently Kosisochukwu is a mouthful here. So I'm currently at Stellenbosch University at the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences. I am a master's student and I work on biology-driven target-based drug discovery, where I validate targets or interesting targets against tuberculosis. I'm trying to help in the battle against tuberculosis, basically. And a fun fact about me is that I am the fifth child of 6, and I make and style really cool wigs, and I give really good advice, or so I'm told. So just as an icebreaker, I'd like everyone, if you can, to please share a fun fact about yourself, something different, not professional. Everything doesn't always have to be about, we don't always have to be serious. So please feel free to share a fun fact about yourself in the next 1 minute in the chat section. And, let's just all interact and get to know. So please feel free to share about what's a fun fact about you. Maureen, let's start with you. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but could you just please tell us a fun fact about yourself?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Kosisochukwu. I just dropped mine on the comment section. In the comment section, so I said I like watching people wash people. That is, washing observing the observer. Yeah, that to me that is something interesting about that. You can imagine someone is looking at something or somebody, and you are somewhere around the corner observing the person that is doing the observation. So it gives me an essence of how human beings mind, how our minds work, how our psychological cue works. So I tend to draw a lot of conclusion and analysis from that. So that is a fun fact about me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. I think that is very nice. And it's like an existential feeling, like it helps you to be aware of where you are at the moment
And
because
move
you
to
see
other
other
audience.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just go
Osita, if you don't
ahead. Um, so moving on to my journey so far. Um, I'm obviously not going to start with I was born on so 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 day because this is a professional journey. So my professional journey started after I couldn't, can I say, meet up with the cutoff mark for JAMB on my first trial, and just to while not yeah to while away time productively, my parents advised I should go for the pre-science program which is offered in UNIZIC, and I attended from February to August 2016. And thankfully, after that, I gained admission to study pharmacy at Nnamdi Azikiwe University in 2016, December. And, we're all going ahead, pharmacy school, hustling it out. But unfortunately, in 2020, February, COVID-19 struck and everyone was at home for almost 10 months, or yeah, because I think we went back in October, like 8 months thereabouts. And life went on as usual. We continued school, and all of a sudden, we were hit again by ASU strike, an 8-month long ASU strike in March of 2022, which made my set induction, which was meant to occur in 2021, to actually occur in 2023 instead. And the whole delay, coupled with Nigeria's economy and just how difficult everything was getting, it put a damp in our spirits. I'm sure if people, experience this 2 period at a stretch, it was quite tough. But as God, glory to God, we were able to graduate, get inducted in 2023 of April, and in 2025 of February, I started my master's in Stellenbosch University. That was last year, and I hopefully will finish in 2027. And yeah, I wrote sky is my limit because yeah, we're getting to that. So one of the few lessons I learned during this my little professional journey is that plans meet providence, or like we like to say, man proposes, God disposes. There are some things in your professional career that you can control, while there are some you cannot control. There was no way I could have controlled in my capacity COVID-19. Neither was there any way I could have controlled ASU strike. So what did I have to do? I just had to move ahead and keep moving basically. And I think that's one thing about profession or professional journey, is that you have to be able to separate yourself from situation. If something doesn't go the way you've planned it, know that that is not your fault, and basically move ahead of that problem that you face. And the second thing I learned is, like I said, just bordering upon the point I made before, is to focus on the things you can control. The things that are not in your control or within your power, leave them. Like, don't spend too much time beating yourself about it. Yes, you will feel bad, you will feel sad, but what you shouldn't do is that you shouldn't kind of mistake that situation for your capacity. You have to be able to separate your capacity from the situation. That something goes bad doesn't mean that you are terrible at your job or that your career is going to bits. The third lesson I learned is that relevance is resilience. You have to be careful not to lose sight of your goal. Whatever you want to achieve, you always have to make sure that you are staying relevant. If your what and this advice applies to every career that I can think of. be it banking, finance, technology, medicine, health. It cuts across every sphere. You have to try your best to stay relevant. And the only way you can do this is by getting up when things try to beat you down. It's okay to experience challenges. Everyone experiences challenges. And that's one of the lessons I've had to learn here is that don't think you're alone. Everybody is going through it. Don't think that, oh, I made a mistake at work. It means I'm a failure or anything. No, we've all made mistakes in the past. But the thing is, we got up and we continued. And with this, I'm going to go into the role that mentorship has played in my journey, because throughout all these, I call my mentors, or I call the issue of mentorship a stepping stone to success. It won't do the work for you. Mentors won't do the work for you, but they are sure going to give you the platform to excel. And these have been my key mentors along my journey. So I have my academic mentors, which are my supervisors, my staff advisors, my lecturers, especially people that I
Claire,
relate well
please
with.
go on.
I'm sorry,
Thank
Maureen,
you.
could you please? So I have my academic mentors. These are my staff, my supervisors, my co-supervisors, staff advisors, lecturers, basically people that are faculty. Um, you're going to be hearing me talk a lot about faculty and basically the academic um, side of things, but really this cuts across any profession and all profession. So these are people that you directly relate, that you report to. And one of the things I had to learn was that your you start early to build your relationship, right? And it's very important that you establish a like a face of trustworthiness. So whenever anyone thinks about you, the next thing that should come to their mind is this person is trustworthy. Oh, I can give her a task and I'll be very sure it's going to be done. And this is one thing that I feel some people, or I've met some people destroy in their spheres, is that I feel one of the worst things that can happen to you is that whenever anyone mentions your name, the next thing that comes to their mind is, I beg, is it that one? Please leave him, don't, or leave her. She's not even serious, you know. Don't let that be you. Even if it's hard, even if it's difficult, or maybe because sometimes your peers or you may be given leadership opportunities and it's very difficult. Do not let people associate you with unseriousness or not being trustworthy. And the right time to start, building relationship with your superiors is now. Don't expect that, oh, I'm going to find one miraculous mentor from LinkedIn or something like that. No, you have to make good use of what you have right now. And that is people in your workplace, people in your school, people in your church, even, or any other professional or community environment that you find yourself in. And that was what I tried to leverage, especially in my um, university education. And also now that I'm doing my postgrad, I try to make sure that I am constantly in relation and doing what I'm meant to do. And then the rest will follow from there. Secondly, I call them peer mentors. So these are people who are not exactly your direct supervisors or people you report to. They're your friends. They are people that you relate with on a daily. And the reason I call them my mentors is because they are like-minded. Like, we share the same values, we share the same belief system, we share the same approach to work and education and all those things. So the reason I call them important is because sometimes you may not know it, but your friends would give you key to opportunities. I have friends that if they see an opportunity, next thing they are sending it to me and they're saying, oh, Kosi, I think you're a good fit for this. Those are my peer mentors, because if I have any idea, like for instance, if I'm applying, say, to a university, and right now, when I was starting out in my academic career and application journey, I usually used to look for people who are maybe higher because most of my peers, we were all at the same point. But these days I've reached the point and we've all developed together that if I need, or if I have an opportunity where I want to apply for something and say I need someone to review my write-up for me, I give it to friends because I know that they will give me a good review and they will give me they will give me an advice that will be beneficial to me. So you have to start building your peer mentors from now. You have to pick like-minded people who share your goals, share your belief system. And trust me, don't keep waiting for any, maybe one miraculous thing. It's these people around you, your friends, your people in your work, people you work with, people you go to school with every day. It's now you start. And then thirdly, I have my family guidance. And I just have to point out that family doesn't always have to people you are, it doesn't always have to be people that you are related with by blood. But thankfully for me, it was. So one thing I had to do on time was I had to start early to make my path known to my family. So from a very early stage, they already knew that, oh, Kosi, this is her likes, this is what she likes to do. So whenever I bring up ideas, maybe I'm unsure of something and I bring it up to them, they're not going to discourage me because okay, this is what she wants. And it's just a little maybe inferiority complex, or she's a bit shy. And they are encouraging me, okay, go for it. Or if you have a win, they are clapping for you the loudest. And trust me, you need encouragement as much as guidance in any journey. And then lastly, we have the self-directed mentorship. And this is where you mentor yourself. These are the things that you do for yourself. And one thing that I have to stress a lot is that do not wait for people to do everything for you. Mentors are not going to do the work. They're not meant to do the work for you. They're meant to help you along the way. You have to do the work for yourself. And for me, even these are some of the resources that when I was applying for academic opportunities, I had to key into. I keyed into LinkedIn. I registered for Getting Education. I registered for Education USA. There's also a mentorship platform, BFI. I read books. I watched YouTube videos. So all these things, no one really had to sit me down and tell me, oh, Kosi, this is what you have to do. Oh, yeah, sit down and do it. No, I had to do it for myself. And that's one thing I know, that in every journey, you have to mentor yourself. You can't wait for people to do everything for you. And I don't know if I have much time, but I just wanted to I wanted to touch a bit on the role LinkedIn has to play in your academic journey. So LinkedIn has a lot of both good PR and bad PR. I know for me, sometimes LinkedIn can get very overwhelming. And you're just seeing people doing a lot of amazing things, and you're just feeling so small and tiny. And where am I in the world? And this is it. I had to learn that, and a very important lesson is that, that saying we have where they'll be like, oh, now packaging in Nigeria. Really, that's what LinkedIn is packaging. So for those of us, or those of you who are unsure of where to start in your LinkedIn journey, my advice to you is just start. Just start. But I've listed some practical steps that I took when I decided to finally get serious with my LinkedIn, at least serious to the extent that I am right now. Is that the first thing I had to do was define my goal. What do I want this LinkedIn to do for me? If you cannot define your goal, if you don't know what you want LinkedIn to do for you, you will just be there for cruise and you wouldn't use it very well. So I had to define my goal. And at the time, my goal was to get opportunities for my career. That's my educational career opportunities, like the master's, PhD, and all whatnot. So I had to first of all define that. And then I had to now set up my profile with that goal in mind. So thirdly, after setting up my profile, I had to get guidance on that. So sometimes don't be shy to ask for help, guys. You're not an island. You don't have to do things every time on your own. Please ask for help. So I set up my profile with guidance. And Thirdly, I became okay. Another thing, one mistake people make in LinkedIn is that they try to look for maybe Bill Gates poster, Bill Gates account, and send a connection to him. No, you start with people that you know, and then you build on to people that you want to know. And lastly, there's with LinkedIn, you can set reminders and you can optimize your notifications. So you have to optimize your notifications to fit your goal. If there's any post that you don't like, just remove it, and with the algorithm won't suggest that. Okay, so to wrap the LinkedIn session up, just a brief session, is that please learn to guard your mind and your mental space. If you know that it's too much, maybe you don't like seeing a particular post, or seeing this post makes you feel a type of, okay, so please learn to guard your mind and your mental space. Whatever you that I don't know, because sometimes I go to LinkedIn and I get overwhelmed. So I don't stay so long there. And I think that's fine. That's totally fine. You have a goal. Optimize your space to achieve your goal. Every other thing is noise. That's one thing you need to know. And then in conclusion, to wrap it up, mentorship for me is a growth accelerator. It's not going to get you where you want to go, but it's going to get you there faster. It's not meant to do the work for you, but it's going to help you get to that place that you're going to go. And then your journey is unique. My journey is not your journey. Hard like Mr. A's journey is not Mr. B's journey. So you have to understand that the fact that it worked for this person, they only took jam once and they entered university, and you're taking it two times and you've not even, that is your journey. And you have to be able to embrace both your successes and setbacks, and celebrate your success, right? Embrace your success, because setbacks will come, and you have to be able to remember that after the dawn, or rather after the dusk comes dawn. It's not going to last forever, but you have to be able to separate both your successes and your setbacks. It's very important. Then, thirdly, stay relevant and stay resilient. You have to always, continuous learning is key. Don't stay too long out of touch. And finally, give back. Learn to help people during your journey, because remember, you were once clueless, and now you've gotten to the point where you are, not solely by your power, but because you were guided. So always be willing to be the guide for others. And with that, I would like to say thank you all for listening. You can connect with me on LinkedIn.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kosisochukwu, for that insightful section. So let's hear from the audience. If there is any question that came to your mind while listening to Kosisochukwu, kindly drop them in your questions in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask your question. I think I have one. Let's start from me. Let me drop the question on the comment section. Okay. So my question is, what do you think is one of the biggest mistakes young professionals make when approaching someone they admire for mentorship? From your own experience, yes, what is one of the biggest mistakes that young professional makes in this regard? Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. For me, it's not the mistake people make is that they don't define their goals. At least personally, you don't really need to tell your mentor. Like, if you're coming to meet me, for instance, I want to know what you want. And it's unfortunate because I know some of us, we don't know what we want. That's why we need a mentor. But you need to have at least something. Don't go empty-handed. See, I've told you guys, all our packaging, right? Package. Even if you don't know what you want exactly, you know something that rather you know what you don't want. Start from what you don't want, and then do a reverse, like psychology to get to, even if it's one thing. Don't just go grasping for straws, because I wouldn't know where to come in to help you. So with mentors, just say something. Don't go without defining a goal. It's easy for me to help you if I know where you have a problem with. So that's one thing that young people don't know. They're always going so confused and, oh, mm-mm. My sister, my brother, pick something. From there, you will build a conversation, and then you can build from there. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kosisochukwu, for that wonderful response. Does any other person have um, a question for Kosiso? You can quickly drop your question on the comment section. Yes, please, Esther, you can unmute yourself and speak, or you can drop your question on in the comment section. You have the floor, Esther.
This is Esther from Lagos, Nigeria. So thank you so much for the section. It was quite enlightening. So I wanted to ask, my question is to Kosi now. I don't know if you're open for mentorship. Is this something that you're currently open to? And is there a process to go about it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Esther. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and we'll have a discussion. Like I said, goals. What do you want to achieve? If is this something I can help you on? If it isn't something I can help you on, then definitely I would help you get someone who can help you on it. So yeah, it's fine. Can you reach out to me on LinkedIn?
All right,
Hi,
thank you so
Rita.
much.
Rita asks, if you admire and love what someone does and need mentorship from them, but they aren't really on the same field of interest with you, how do you go about it?
Hi Rita. Nice question. So I just have a question about the question. What exactly do you love and admire about that person? Because that is mostly what you need mentorship on. If you remember, a mentor is meant to help you get a to you where you want to go. So there has to be a place you want to go, or like something you want to achieve that the mentor is going to help you achieve. So until you define that, then you shouldn't even meet the person. If you just love and admire the person, like, oh, I like your personality, connect with them, like let them be your friend. But if it's like a certain thing, you have to be able to define something. I don't know, is like what I said, what do you want that person to mentor you on? There has to be that thing. It may take some time to know. Like, for instance, I told you about, you may not be sure, but just pick one thing, like do a reverse. Okay, I like how this person dresses. Okay, so that means I need to know how to dress. Like, just do a reverse tech, like trace it back. What do you love about that person? What do you want that person to mentor you on? It has to be something you need help with. So think about it for a little while. I'm sure you'll find it out.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Kososhi, for that conversation. Our next speaker is supposed to be Emmanuella, but she cannot join us due to some technical issues. Yeah, probably our next section she will be with us. Yeah, so we are going to have a joint conversation with Kosisochukwu and Osita. Yeah, so just a few questions for them. So the first is, what is one thing young professionals often mistake for professional competency? Kosisochukwu, you can let us know your take on this.
Okay, what is one thing young professionals often mistake for professional competence? That would be that you know it all. You don't need to know it all. I think some people, some young, especially young professionals, sometimes they come into a space and they already want to show themselves. No, To be very honest, that's even one of the fastest way to gain enemies. You don't know it all. No one knows it all. And you have to be humble enough to understand that you don't know it all, which is one of the things I have to. But okay, and I think I need to say it. You have to be able to draw a very clear line between your capacity and your knowledge. You may not know a lot, but it does not mean that you are not capable. And that's one thing I've had to learn in my professional journey, is that my capacity is different from my knowledge. I can always gain knowledge, but my capacity remains where it is. Like, my capacity is high. I'm capable of doing things, but I may not know how to do them yet. So basically, the power of yet. Don't go into a space with the delusion that you know everything. You don't know everything. Be humble enough to learn. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kosisochukwu, for that insight. So, just one last question for you. When should a young professional ask for help, and when should they first think through the questions themselves before asking for help?
Okay, thank you. I think I'll I have a personal example for this one. So here's the thing. My supervisor here, he is the kind of person that doesn't spoon feed you. And he's also the kind of person that you have to go to help. Like, if you don't go to him for help, he's going to assume that you're fine. And me, I'm the kind of person that I want to figure it out myself, right? I want to uh, I'm the kind of person that you have to be like, I want you to be on my case. Like, okay, okay, we have this deadline, give it to me, let's go. But he's not like that. He's a very chill person. So me, I had to figure out here that it's okay for me to actually step into a big man's office and say, sir, I want to have a meeting with you. And you say, oh, yes, that's fine. So I had to, it was a learning curve for me to be able to know that, yes, it's important for you to think through the problem yourself. But my sister, when you have reached your wit's end, please ask for help. Now, when should you think through the problem yourself? Is as soon as the problem arises. And I think I should also say, because it depends on how big the problem is. If it's something that is so big that if you touch this thing, trouble is going to arise, please go and ask for help. Even if maybe it means that you have to go and admit you made a terrible mistake, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. Please go and ask for help. However, always go with your wits, like your brain, because I think people appreciate when, especially in this dawn of AI and artificial intelligence, it's always kind of rare to see people who think for themselves these days. So everybody, especially professionals, they like older professionals, they are always moved by people who can think for themselves. But at the same time, you should have that humility to say, oh, I need help. But as you're going to ask for help, you're not going without your brains. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. It's like, I've thought about it, but I know that I need help. And then as I'm coming to seek the help, I'm also coming with my brains. If you're telling me, oh, okay, I understand. Okay, so you should do this. We should, oh, okay, so this is why we should do this. Yes, that's you have to know how to strike that balance.
All right. Thank you so much, Kosisochukwu, for that wonderful insight. And I believe the audience also have a lot of takeaways. Yeah, because this meeting is actually timed. We are not going to exhaust all our joint conversations. Yeah. So before we close, I would like to bring together this information section by picking back on all the conversations so far. By now, you have heard us talk about African Practice Academy, the Mentorship Readiness Professional Development Program for almost an hour. So I would like to remind us that this Mentorship Readiness Professional Development Program is designed primarily for final year students, recent graduates, early career, or young professionals with 0 to 10 years work experience who wants to become more prepared and effective in the workplace. It is particularly relevant to people who may have the academic or develop the professional judgments, the communication, the initiative, the accountability, teamwork, of African Practice Academy, and also the link to the mentorship readiness program. Yeah, so the problem MRPD is trying to solve is to address the gap between being academically and technically capable and knowing how to navigate professional life effectively. Because many young people leave school knowing their subject matter very well, but don't have but they are not taught how to take initiative without being micromanaged, how to communicate clearly and professionally, how to receive feedback and apply the feedback received, and also how to exercise judgment when instructions are not clear. We are not taught this in school. So the MRPD program is helping participants develop this professional readiness and judgment that often takes years of trial and error to acquire. Yeah. So the program will also help you understand that nobody really teaches you about professional life. Yes, I can never overemphasize on it. You will gain the exposure on how to think and communicate, make decisions, receive feedback. You also gain access to mentorship. Yes, you have access to mentorship and practical learning, including feedbacks, professional exposure as well. So as we come to the end of today's conversation, I think we have uncovered something important, that professional life comes with an unofficial curriculum. There are things you are expected to know that nobody formally taught you. Yeah. So the link is already on the chart, so you can click on it, copy it, and then go through it and know if you fit into this program. So thank you so much to our faculty director, Osita Enwe, and thank you to our wonderful guests, Kosisochukwu Offojebe, for being generous with your experience. And thank you everyone who joined us today, participated, asked questions, and stayed with us. I hope you leave with more than information. I hope you leave with a question. You ask yourself, what are the things nobody explained to me in this current role, in this current job, and who do I need to learn from? So once again, the theme is things nobody explained. How do capable people learn from professional judgment? So each workplace have different experiences. So you go home and think about those things that nobody has explained to you in your professional journey, and you try to figure out what you need to work better in your workplace. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful evening.